The Italian Navy has just tweeted their update, and they say that they have recovered 221 people, and there are 257 people left on the ship. So they're making some progress right now. This fire is also contained. This is according to the Italian Coast Guard. One of the new bits of information, though, is that the Italian Navy says that they have just lowered some medical personnel onto the ship, and that is presumably to treat the people who are suffering from hypothermia. The Mayday call came out almost 24 hours ago. It's almost 4:30 in the morning here in Italy, and that call came at 4:30 yesterday morning. And so this ship has been on fire for 24 hours. It is very, very hot ship, and the people who are the passengers who had to leave their cabins and leave the area inside the ship have been outside that entire time. They've been outside when the tugboats were spraying the water to try to put out the ship. They are freezing, literally freezing out there. And as you mentioned before, they were complaining. Many people said that they could feel the heat of the burning fire underneath them on the decks above the ship, but yet they were so cold from the elements outside, these rough seas, these high winds, and the constant spraying of the ship to try to put out the fire. One can only imagine just how awful that would be, plus the fear that the ship you're on is burning, and things like that. The 257 people still, though, have not seen the dry land yet. Suffered this for 24 hours now.
Yeah, good point too. I mean, imagine being on the deck, you're freezing as it is, and getting water sprayed all over the boat as well. Wouldn't have helped out. It's very easy for us sitting here to perhaps ponder this, but tell us why it has taken so long to get so few people comparatively off. I know the challenges have been enormous.
They have. The high seas and strong winds have been the biggest factor here. It's very difficult, has been very difficult to get the rescue ships close to the ship. 150 people within the first 3 hours of the emergency were able to use the lifeboats because they were still functioning. But after the first 3 hours, the ship, the ferry, lost all power. And with that, they lost the capacity to operate the electronic arms that drop the lifeboats. It seems these lifeboats work except in a real emergency, is what we've learned from this. So the lifeboats are still, many of them hanging on the side of the ship, the people on the ship. So that's been one of the big problems. They weren't able to get down on the lifeboat. The ship, if you can see from these pictures, is a very tall ship. Jumping into the water from the ship would be into the cold water would be a very dangerous way to get off the ship. And they couldn't get to the lower decks to get closer to the sea level, obviously, because of the fire. So the people really were stranded. Many of the passengers who have been rescued, have been calling relatives and been calling some of the Italian and Greek press, and some of the things they're saying, they felt like mice on a burning ship. They felt like they were prisoners on this burning ship. So you can imagine the agony that they've gone through, those that have gotten off the ship, and yet, there's the very many more that are still on the ship. The captain, though, in this particular instance, is still on the ship and still apparently coordinating the efforts rather heroically, from what we've heard, making sure, trying to keep people as calm as possible, trying to keep them as warm as possible, and just really trying to coordinate the efforts of the rescue operation at this point.